is Bronze and Modern Gods. I am John.
And I'm Richard.
Oh, hey, welcome everybody. We've got our usual stuff, viewer mail, underrated books of the week, 25-year rule, lots to talk about, more CGC stuff, not as dramatic, I don't think, as the last few weeks, but I remember last week when I said, wait a day and something else will happen.
Yes. Almost
my Lord. Let's get right into it because it's also our hot book of the week. Have you heard about this? The Death of Superman 30th Anniversary Gold Foil Edition.
Yeah.
There's a silver foil edition too. Yes, this is the new gold foil version we're talking about of Superman number 75 from Big Time Collectibles. Actually, a friend of the show, Nelson, who's been on the show. If you remember that whole Venom double cover fiasco from 2 years ago. Was that 2 years ago?
Yeah.
We like Nelson. But another friend of the show, Minor Keys Comics, wrote to us and said, love the show, blah, blah, blah. You know the drill. Thank you for keeping it short. We don't like compliments. Thanks for excising that part out, Stephen.
Keeping our heads from getting too big. Yeah.
Exactly. I really want to know why nobody is talking about what a conflict of interest it is for CGC to produce and then grade their own variants. This time they have paired up with Big Time Collectibles, former guest of Bronze and Modern Gods, and are grading them with the CGC logo on the back. How can they claim to be a third-party independent comic book grading service when they do something like this? Everyone wants to talk about acetate and staples, but nobody cares when they literally advertise that they are no longer an impartial grading service. I guess that means we just have to shrug our shoulders from now on and just ride off into that inevitable CGC sunset. Well, Stephen, I know why you wrote this, because when this was originally announced, the back cover was a little misleading. It said this was an exclusive from Big Time Collectibles and CGC. Not so much. There was a news item on CGC that you also forwarded to us, Stephen. Thank you. Well, that news item has disappeared from the CGC website, as you can see from this screen grab. Poof, gonzo. They did clarify, Big Time Collectibles clarified that the mock-up of the back cover was not final, and they have a new back cover where it's very clear that it says this was produced by Big Time Collectibles and exclusively graded by CGC. CGC did not produce this book. Big Time Collectibles produced this book, but there's more nuance to this. We'll get into that. But first, I want to, I guess, I don't know if it's better, if it makes it better, but this is not the first time CGC has done something like this. This is not new. They had a reprint of a Dark Horse Aliens comic that they did especially for a cast signing. And let's not forget the Young Avengers Wizard 9.5 exclusive.
Right.
Remember that with the red label and everything?
Yeah, the evil book that screws up everybody who tries to understand the grading scale.
Exactly. They also did this just quite recently with Batman number 125, also with Big Time Collectibles. Now, here's what caught my eye on the whole thing. Big Time says they're printing 1,000 of the gold foil, and then CGC will just grade 300 that are 9.8s, guaranteed 9.8s, 300 of them, and then destroy the rest.
Right.
So this is a bit of a manufactured scarcity here. Well, you can say the same thing about printing 1,000. That's a manufactured scarcity.
Yeah. No, when it's manufactured, you are printing 1,000, but you're grading 300. All of them are guaranteed to be 9.8s. Them all being 9.8s means there's limited value in the grade. If everything is graded excellent, what is the import of the grade? There are no lower grade books. There are no higher grade books. There's just the book. So while it may be a nice collectible, and people who are interested in the history of the death of Superman, I think that's what this is earmarked for. But in terms of the aftermarket and the value of the book growing, it's going to be tough because of that scarcity and the fact that all of them are graded exactly the same.
What if I told you it sold out in 3 minutes?
Oh, I know it sold out. I got emails from BTC saying that they were selling out very quickly. But that's, that initial FOMO is different than how is this book going to settle once it hits the secondary market and it's a year has gone by. I'm not discounting the book in terms of its historical significance. I think it's important to recognize the death of Superman as an event. It was one of those pivotal moments in collecting history where the mainstream actually got involved in the comic book collecting craze. But is this book going to be increase in value over time? I think that's a little doubtful, but we'll see over how things are in a year from now.
I do want to read the statement from Big Time Collectibles, assuming it's
Yeah.
Nelson. We understand the concerns some of you may have. We have partnered with CGC to be the official grading company for the Death of Superman gold foil variant. The entire print run of 1,000 copies we ordered at DC Comics will be submitted to CGC for grading. The books will be pre-screened 9.8, and only 300 copies will be encapsulated and numbered 1 to 300 to 300 of 300. The remaining 700 copies will be destroyed by CGC with an accompanying video, which will be shared by... Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that I can't wait to see that video. I can't wait to see CGC torch 700 comic books.
I know. We also understand the initial mock-up back cover of the gold foil variant was misleading and created a lot of confusion and assumptions. We were merely too excited for all Superman fans, and we sincerely apologize for getting everyone riled up about it. The final front and back covers are now revealed. All right, this is why we like Nelson. I'm not going to begrudge Nelson for a marketing stunt. This is his gig. This is his job. This is what he does. It's creating excitement around a collectible. Now, do we begrudge CGC for being a part of it? They've done it before, guys.
Yeah, so I think this is kind of blown out of proportion, to be honest with you. Like you say, Nelson's a comic book collector himself. He's a fan of of the hobby, and he's just not just a retailer. He's one of the good guys. And I think if this had happened 2 months earlier or 2 months later, we wouldn't really have a whole lot to say about it. But it's just because of the open wound that is our relationship with CGC right now, I think is the main impetus for it being discussed. 300 people who are fans of Death of Superman are going to be very happy with their comic.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately where I am with this. Let's let the people who want the book buy the book. I just think that CGC needs to be a little less directly involved with the retailers and keep that distance, because they're supposed to be a subjective body, not someone that involves themselves in the day-to-day of comic book sales.
I would agree with that before everybody starts calling us Quizlings for CGC. Do you know what a Quizling is? Do you know what a Quizling
Yes,
is?
I know who Quizling was. Yes.
I love a good Quizling. I love a good Quizling accusation. Well, let's head over to, before we get to our main topic, I do want to talk a little bit about the Long Beach Comic Con that happened this weekend here in, imagine that, Long Beach, California. Wow. We went, not a lot of footage because there wasn't a lot going on. We got there at 10 a.m. right at opening, and it was a little tumbleweed city. It was a little depressing. Yeah. Now I will say we were there for a few hours and the crowd did start to roll in. Not a huge crowd, not a lot of comic book dealers. I think maybe 7 or 8 comic book dealers total. But the ones that were there had their books priced nicely, accordingly. There was no gouging here. People were ready to deal. In fact, someone caught me on Instagram at the Dream Worlds booth, and you can see me there digging through the boxes with just a look of glee in my face, because there were good deals to be had. It was nice to see. Nothing outrageous. It was also nice to see a little crowd around Howard Chaykin. Howard Chaykin was there. Nice. And he was selling some original art, and he had a little crowd around him, and it was good. I think, there was no con for 2 years, so I think people are getting used to it again. There's also some political stuff behind the scenes that I'm not even going to get into about convention organizers breaking away and doing their blah, 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 blah. But I will support everyone. I am Switzerland. Go to every convention where there are funny books, and you guys can handle all the political stuff. So, I hope they made money. I hope it was worthwhile. We had a good time, got some great deals.
Excellent. Excellent.
All right, let's head over to viewer mail.
You've got mail.
The first piece I have here is from friend of the show, Jason Brownell. Guess what he's talking about, Richard? Not CGC. Oh, wait, it is. Hey guys, Jason Brownell here. Not that we need any more tinder on the CGC fire, but I feel the worst thing the company does is completely ignored by the interwebs. The practice of companies grading individual pages and verifying their authenticity. This practice is beginning to run away into a pretty dark corner of the hobby. A friend of mine was close to buying a very beat copy of Amazing Fantasy number 15 when the seller backed out, destroyed the book, and sold individual pages for a greater profit.
Yeah.
This would not be possible without CGC verifying and slabbing the individual pages. What are your thoughts on this? Am I being a cranky old school collector that should embrace people having a literal piece of history? Or is this truthfully one of the worst practices that grading companies do for the longevity of our hobby? You go first.
Oh, thanks. Thank you so much. This is a tough one. I have seen the practice of they have a grade called PG for individual pages. And I have seen the practice of people getting individual pages of AF-15 slabbed. And to be honest with you, I don't have a problem with it. Superman number 1, I've seen that done for that. I've seen it for Batman number 1. It does give an opportunity for someone who can't afford the full book, because the full book is really expensive, an opportunity to own a piece of history. My only problem, I think, is this practice of destroying low grade books to get multiple pages out of it. I think it's just a sign of the market right now. The prices that these pages will command. I think it's an abhorrent practice. If you have a comic book that is mostly intact, please don't rip it to pieces just to sell it. It's like selling organs. It's I think it really goes against the hobby. But if you've got a damaged book and you've got, it's going to get a 0.5 grade because it's missing the front cover and the first couple of wraps. To me, I don't see any problem with taking that and selling the individual pages out of it.
This bummed me out. Let me first say, not CGC's fault.
No,
sorry.
No.
CGC is grading individual pages as they come in. That's it. If there is a fault here, and it's the guy destroying the friggin' book to make a bigger profit. It's depressing. It's the marketplace too. Yeah. Why are individual pages collectively selling more than a full complete book in low grade?
I've seen individual pages sell for $5,000.
Would an individual page of the Martians Among Us story from Amazing Fantasy 15 be worth $5,000? I hope not.
Hope not. Yeah, no.
For those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, there's a backup story in Amazing Fantasy 15 that it's just a straight ahead sci-fi story by Ditko and Lee. Wow. Let's all take some Prozac here to get over this depressing.
It is depressing. I never even thought of the practice of taking a perfectly good low grade book and tearing out the pages. And my thought, it always came from, that book that was water damaged, and this was the only page out of the book that was salvageable, and so we'll submit just that page. I could, the whole thought of body snatchers pulling pages out of perfectly good books is I think that's a terrible practice.
Well, I'm gonna try to look at the other side. Okay, I tried.
Oh,
I mean, it's your book. You can do whatever you want with it,
yeah,
but man, well, how cynical. I hate cynicism. This is cynical.
It's a problem with the market right now. The prices for those key books are so high, and they have maintained their value. individual pages can sell for a lot of money. And if you sell 10 individual pages at $5,000 a piece for a a low grade book, you've made 50 grand off of a book that if you sold it, you may have only made 25. So I understand the desire to make profit, but I think you're destroying a piece of history in the process.
Here is the other side. I thought of something. Okay. This is honestly not a new practice. This was happening
Oh yeah.
pre-CGC.
Mhm.
People were missing centerfolds in Golden Age books or missing a page or a wrap here and there. And you would buy an incomplete copy just to get that centerfold or get that missing wrap. And you would destroy it and put it back together and Frankenstein a book and, pass it off before restoration detection as being complete. This is not new. It's just a new way. It's an old scam and new drag. How's that?
Yeah, the marketplace hasn't been any bigger in the past. This is the largest audience people have to sell these individual pages, and I think that's why they're going for such a huge amount.
Let me take back the word scam. Is it really a scam?
No, it's not. It's capitalism at its best. You
Or
know,
worse?
or worst, yes.
Mhm.
And it's a practice that I don't think is ever going to change as long as people are in it for the money more than they are for the hobby.
There you go. I mean, it's obvious that this person who destroys this book is not in it for the hobby, not in it because they love Spider-Man, not in it because they love comic books, because they are destroying a piece of history that is just destroying a piece of a collector's heart. What's your next piece of viewer mail?
Oh, that's thank you for letting me follow that. Our next piece is from Julius Maloney. I am fascinated by the idea of not wanting controversy in your television. How do you avoid this in 2022? I'm intrigued by this statement from Richard. Yeah, I don't watch TV that gives me anxiety, stress.
Yeah,
Um,
not so much controversy. You don't like gore.
right, and I don't like situations that put people in a situation where they are. I'm trying to think of an example. I like I watch TV for a release, for enjoyment. I don't watch it because, someone has just, shot their grandparents and now they're going on a murder spree. I don't know. I pick my TV because I have a very limited amount of time for what I need to what I have to watch. Um, and I like things that are easy to digest. Um,
Well, let me ask you this.
mhm.
This came up when you talked about the third episode of Sandman and you couldn't finish it. What I watched it. What was
Yeah.
we were Raphael were like, what was Richard talking
Oh,
about?
let's talk about the gargoyle and the whole thing with the gargoyle.
Oh, poor Gregory.
Yeah, I was watching that, and it's like I was watching, his parents standing there. I'm not gonna spoil anything.
Did you watch the whole episode?
No, I couldn't get past that part.
Watch the whole episode.
Okay. To me, that's literally what happens to me when I watch TV. I would get
Raphael
like that.
stressed out. Yes, he was stressing out over Gregory. He's like, they're not gonna what? No, don't do that. No, why? And I was like, there's a story here. Luckily I have read the comics, so I know the story.
See, I have
So
not read the comics, so I'm
right.
just going by, and there's so many TV shows that I get to an a moment like that I just say, I just don't want to watch the rest of it. It's giving me anxiety watching this.
I love that you want to avoid conflict in your entertainment when every story arc has to have conflict of some sort
Yeah,
in order to have a resolution.
yeah. I mean, conflict is okay. It's emotional conflict like that.
You
This.
don't like Spielbergian tier manipulation.
No, I don't want to be manipulated. I don't want to be manipulated. Just give me real. You get conflict. I understand that it makes a good movie, makes a good TV show, but don't make it pull on my heartstrings and twist them like that. That's just wrong. Okay. But now that you told me that particular situation may be addressed, I'll go back and watch the rest of the episode.
Watch it. You will be happier
Okay.
than you think you are. Our next piece of viewer mail comes to us from our email address at bronzeandmoderngods@gmail.com. And it comes from Glenn, who writes, "Hey guys, love your channel." Thank you, Glenn. I have collected comics for about 40 years and spent most of that time explaining to outsiders how comics were a terrible investment because only a tiny percentage of comics actually end up worth lots of money. Then about 3 years ago, I started watching comics related content on YouTube, and I was a bit taken aback by how much content there is about flipping/selling comics and such a focus on keys rather than getting full runs. There's a part of me that just kind of finds that talk to be ugly while taking something beautiful and making it commercial, like taking something beautiful and making it commercial. There's also a part of me that feels like it's creating demand and raising prices for books that I might want to buy someday. And so it is at cross purposes with my collecting. After further reflection, though, I have come to the conclusion that it is not just some sort of tremendously important thing, but rather it is something that is easy to generate content about. It is a bit like cosplayers at a Comic Con. It's not that that's the most important thing, but it is the most visually interesting. So that's why it gets a lot of focus. Was wondering just what your thoughts are on this. Well, thank you, Glenn. First of all, welcome back. We are fellow longtime multi-decade collectors like yourself, and we like both parts of it. I don't think we're shy about specking and getting keys and flipping and stuff. But we're not destroying copies of Amazing Fantasy 15 to sell individual pages at the same time.
Right. Yeah, there are comic book collectors who flip books. I know John and I, we sell books. We sell books because we then gives us money to buy more books. it's
Exactly.
really,
It's self-funding the hobby. Yeah.
right, exactly. And I have obviously have no problem with that. There are other people who are in it to make a profit, and they extract that profit from the hobby. And that's fine too. I'm not saying that practice is bad. I just think there is a difference between the types of people, and I've, like John says, we've been in collecting comic books since the 70s, so there's a lot of history with us, and we understand that the market that we have now, it will ebb and flow and come and go, but collecting itself, I think, is something that's going to be around forever.
A great example, Captain America Comics number 74, one of my great white whales. I
Right.
had a 2.5 graded copy of this for years, and I sold it, and I've been trying to get it back ever since. A 3.5 came up on Heritage this week, and the auction just ended today. We're recording this on Sunday, and it ended at $9,600. That is much, much less than I thought it was going to end up as, because it last sold for $9,500 in 2019. So to only go up $100 in 3 years tells us we're in a slump.
We are.
I tell you this, Glenn, because I know you're like, oh, everybody's going for the same books I am now, and it's driving up prices. Not necessarily. This is my Long Beach Comic Con experience this weekend. I got some great deals. So look out there. I think your heart's in the right place. Collect what you like, and like us, we don't worry about other YouTubers really.
We really don't. We don't compare us. We don't compare ourselves to anybody else. We do this for fun. We have fun doing it, and we have fun sharing our exploits with the hobby. And I think that's the way it should be. Focus on the hobby, and all this peripheral things will take care of itself.
Just don't steal our font for your thumbnails, please. All right, Richard, what is your next piece of viewer mail?
My next piece is from Steve Gerenser. Many years ago, when Doomsday killed Superman, I owned a comic book store. The morning of the release, there was a line outside waiting for me to open. The very first guy through the door demanded I sell him every copy I had. He didn't care about anyone else in the line that was there. Yeah, okay. So now we're talking about the second type of person, right? My partner and I immediately created a limit. The first book at cover price, the next book at $10, then back to the line with you. Back to the back of the line with you. Don't like it? Get out. We ran out of books so fast, no matter how often I told people that the book would never be worth what some stores were already charging for them. $60 the day of release. That was when I developed a fairly strong dislike for flippers. You have something to say. Go ahead.
I had a shop when this happened 30 years ago. I had pulled up, and there was a line down the street. My retail neighbors had never seen anything like it in the time that I had been open. and I limited everyone to 1 copy per customer. I had media. I had the local radio station there. I had one of the local TV stations. I don't know why they found my store or why they picked my store, but I was like, great. And did a couple of interviews that day for the newspaper, got a picture in the paper, and I actually gained a lot of new customers because of that, because I limited it to 1 per person and gave everyone a shot. Whereas my competitor, literally a block down the street, was, he was charging $25 per. And yeah, and I got people that were, I'm never going back to his shop again. And they came into my store and became my customers. They didn't stick around. I ended up closing, but that's a whole nother story. But yeah, I remember Superman 75. That was a crazy day.
But it makes me think of all of these super hot releases nowadays that that sell out immediately. People get trapped in the FOMO of it. And, ultimately they settle at a price a whole lot less than people paid for them. So I have curtailed a lot of my modern book buying, especially the variants, because it's just proven once, over and over again, that the hype when the book is released almost always cools down. The books that are really worth a lot of money over time are books that have a significance in either story or character, and they're not, issue number 6 because it's got, it's the latest book out and is being hyped by the publisher. It's those books of import. And I would much rather wait a month or two, just find those books, than to sit there and buy 20 books on release day hoping one of those books is going to be the one that takes off.
It's hard though. I love Thunderbolts, right?
Yeah.
So Thunderbolts 1 comes out on Wednesday, and I'm at the shop and I see the Hawkeye variant sitting there, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not buying this variant cover. And it was priced at $14.95. And I thought, no, what am I going to do with the variant? I'm not going to slab it. I'm not going to display it. It's going to sit in a box. I don't care.
Right.
And of course, I get home and I find out it's selling for like $25, $30 on eBay. And I'm immediately, why didn't I get that? I was right there for 15. But I'm letting go and letting God. How's that?
Yeah. Well, it's yeah, and you only have so much money, right? I mean,
Right.
we are both limited by the amount of money, and rather than buy one of these FOMO books, I'd rather buy a nice Silver Age or Bronze Age book that has a proven history in terms of value. That's if I'm buying because I'm looking for the value. There's some books that I'm just as guilty. So, a new book comes out for a character I really like. I'll go ahead and buy it because I like the character. I like the cover. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with buying because you enjoy the book. But this just realize it may not have the return on investment that people seem to be thinking that it does.
Anybody have that Thunderbolts #1 with Hawkeye and want to sell it for $15? Hit me up. My next piece of viewer mail is also from our email at bronzeandmoderngods@gmail.com. This is from Ben, who writes, can't say enough how much I love the show. Thank you. Wanted to throw my hat in the ring for what I believe to be a majorly underrated DC key, Batman Mr. Freeze from 1997. It introduced Nora Freeze, her first appearance in comics, and the storyline of Mr. Freeze's origin in Batman the Animated Series episode Heart of Ice. Paul Dini created an amazing origin for Mr. Freeze, which is for the most part widely accepted as his origin today. This was adapted to the Batman Mr. Freeze comic book and is a must for any Batman or Mr. Freeze collector. Thanks, and keep up the amazing shows. Well, Ben, I can't think of a better segue for the 25-year rule. The 25-year rule.
You cheated.
The 25-year rule for me. It is Batman Mr. Freeze from 1997. This was a one-shot in a series of one-shots released about the characters featured in the Batman and Robin motion picture that came out in 1997. Bat nipples, Richard. Bat nipples. That's all I'll say.
Yes, man, I had forgotten about that until you just reminded me.
Bat nipples and Robin rumps. This was written indeed by Paul Dini with art by Mark Buckingham. This is in fact the first appearance of Nora Freeze and the revised origin of Mr. Freeze in comic continuity. I am repeating everything Ben just told us. A CGC 9.8 sold in June for $140. Raws on eBay sell from $6 to $20. Thank you for doing the work for us, Ben.
No, this is great. The Batman, the animated series, the storyline with Mr. Freeze gave him depth that I had not expected. This is a great pick. This is Nora Freeze does really transform the character for me.
And now you can chill.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Oh, the casting. All right, it's time for more underrated books of the week. Richard, what is yours?
My pick this week is Marvel Tales #1 from 1983. This is the first appearance of Spider-Ham. This is a tough
I
word.
was waiting for you to pronounce this. Anthropomorphic.
Okay, the animal dude. Okay, it was an animal version of Peter Parker, known as Peter Porker.
Hey, don't shame him.
Appeared in the first Spider-Verse movie. I think this character is a lock for appearing in the second and potentially third movie. It's just a great character in general. He had an ongoing series as well, the Spectacular Spider-Ham, if you want to read that. But this book has a number of variants. It's got a Mark Jewelers variant, which I was very surprised to see, a Canadian price variant. Of course, there's the newsstand, and they all are more valuable than the 9.8. The last sale for the 9.8 was $350. The raws are going on eBay from $30 to $100. At the top of that, I think it was a little optimistic for raws for this book. But I think you can get a reasonably priced raw of this book. And again, this is a character that is coming back to the not to the MCU, to the Spider-Verse. And next year we'll be seeing that movie, and the year after the following movie. And I think this, if you're looking for value, this is a pretty good lock. But I think it's just a good book. If you're into the history of the Spider-Verse, this is a character that is laced throughout it and is very important.
I remember when this came out, I was a sophomore in high school, maybe a junior, buying my comics, taking it deadly seriously. And I saw this on the stands and I was like, what the heck is, I have to buy this. And I bought it and I really enjoyed it. Great art and just a fun book. It also featured Goose Rider.
Yes.
And Captain America.
It's a great opportunity for having those kinds of characters. So buy the series as well, because it's also good.
Definitely a fun book and fun character. My underrated book of the week is some 90s goodness or badness, depending on your view of that decade and your age, I think. Secret Defenders #12.
Oh, wow. Oh, that sparkles.
In case you're not watching us on YouTube, this is a gimmick cover from the age of gimmick covers, the 90s. This one is a prism foil cover celebrating the 12th issue of a D-list title, Richard. Let's celebrate that Secret Defenders lasted a year.
How could they afford to do those covers? Because they can't be cheap.
Cover price on this was $250 back in 1990. Gosh, when was this? 93? Yeah, it had to be 93. The key here, obviously, is Thanos. Thanos on the cover. The gimmick for the entire Secret Defender series was that a new team would form every few issues for some random reason. And this time it was led by Thanos. He forms a team consisting of the Super Skrull, Nitro, the Titanium Man, and the Rhino. I guess they just threw a bunch of names in a box and said, all right, what do we got here, guys? Let's be honest. This book is all about the cover. Okay. Right. No one's reading this Ron Mars story and going, remember Secret Defenders when Thanos got that team with Nitro? It's a good cover. It's a decent cover. I pick it up whenever I see it in a bin. CGC 9.8 sold for $200 in June. That's up 100% over the last sale last year. However, this sale in June was for a newsstand version of the book, which I would say is probably considered considerably rarer than the direct. You can still grab a higher grade raw on eBay for under $20. So Secret Defenders 12. This was the last. First of all, it started off like a Defenders relaunch. Doctor Strange was leading these disparate heroes. Then it went to this Thanos cosmic thing for a few issues. And then Dr. Druid came on board, man. And that's when the book really took off.
Yeah.
Not like Dr. Druid, but like ponytail extreme 90s Dr. Druid. You know, he had a ponytail now, man. Take that, Superman with your mullet.
Super mullet Superman, yes.
Mullet Superman. That's what we got from the death of Superman. When he came back, he had a mullet. He was updated for the 90s, for your 90s entertainment, people.
So I gotta give Superman props. He's been doing it since 39 and he still is relevant.
Still relevant, still selling 300 copies of a foil edition.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Wrapping it up for us today with memories of 30 years of Superman's death. It's been if you are following us on Facebook and Instagram at Bronze and Modern Gods, you're getting all sorts of bonus content during the week. If you're not, why not? And if you like this video, please help us out. Hit like, subscribe. If you want to know when we go live, hit that notification bell and you'll get a notification. Weird how that works. Is that all you have to say?
That's all I have to say, except everybody stay safe.